Hello. Nice to be face to face for once.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. Haven't done this before.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll just have to forget there's a recorder here.
Do it the rest of the time.
Yeah, but that time it's the interface for talking to you, so it's easier to forget that there's
Fair
a
enough.
record on the side.
So, down the country a bit, out here in the rural hillbilly country.
Yeah,
How are you liking it so far?
it's nice. I can definitely see and feel the attraction of being in the city, and yeah, I wouldn't mind ending up living in the country with a big garden and a shed.
What's preventing you from doing such things in your life currently?
Hmm.
Oh, too formal.
Basically schoolwork. Um, Continuity in school for my son, work, and caution over uprooting everything to try something different.
That's fair. Your work, you were programming, right? Mostly.
I'm the programming is part of it. I'm essentially a steam engine design engineer at the moment, and I've been writing a program to simulate a whole engine so we can tweak a piece here and tweak a piece there and see how that affects the whole system because it's very interrelated. And that's one of the things that they really didn't have back in the 1900s and 1950s when they
You're
were
doing
designing them.
a physics simulation.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, well, thermodynamics simulation, which is where the mechanical engineering comes into it, because I need to understand the thermodynamics in order to write the program.
So that's why I've got an engineer doing the program.
Yeah, and the
Makes sense.
computer geeks running the welder.
So what about that job wouldn't be able to be done remotely?
I don't work as well remote. That's my failing more than the job itself. Face to face is better, and I struggle to remain on task if I'm not in the environment with the other people working on it.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Something to work on, I suppose.
yeah. It's also good human contact.
This is true. But if it is your goal to get away from the city, then you kind of have to fix that problem.
Yeah.
You won't be able to do it without it.
Mm.
Because you're not going to find small tech startup in this dairy farming town.
That's very true. Yeah.
Any small town.
Yeah.
But we have fibre. So,
Mm.
not a bad place to
Yeah.
be.
It might be part of being a single parent in the sense of, although if my son's in the house, it's hard to not be distracted. And when you're sitting down at the computer, you do everything on. It's also like the habits of distraction kick in. But if I had a separate office that was only for work,
There's ways around that, yeah,
mm,
for sure. I played around with that a lot during lockdown. Gotta find a better name for that that's more jabby at what it really is. Martial law. And there were some interesting people I used to follow that were all big on that kind of ideas. So there's some good stuff you can do to separate our workspaces and train your brain to go, when I am here, this is workspaces. And you can accomplish it without actually having a separate physical room. But you would 100% need some boundaries with your child. Otherwise, it's just non-starter.
Yeah, or do it while he's at school, or do it when there's a partner to occupy him.
Yeah, I mean, if he's at school, which is, as you saw, over the back of the fence here, which is another advantage of small town.
Yeah.
Then yeah, that gives you plenty of hours during the day to do work. And if you have a big enough house, then you can have, time set up where you go watch a movie now and don't bother me for a couple hours. Which is doable. Though I see that makes you uncomfortable.
Well, I do that for giving me time to make dinner, and I don't like it that much, but it's on the balance of things, it's
Not a big fan of closed doors.
in that sense too, yeah. Yeah. Not sure where that comes from.
I can understand the theory when it comes to the whole peaceful parenting thing. because it's a solid boundary. It's a no, a
Mm.
hard no. But I think it's important for your kids to understand that there needs to be some boundaries and separation between the children and the adults,
Mm.
and that it is important for the adults to have time doing the adult things, because adult things are important, more important than the child's want.
Mm.
Something I had explained to me recently, and I thought it was really good on that. Yes,
As
you
long
want to make it known to the kid that their needs are valued and very important, but not more important than the work that needs to be done by adults.
as long as you as an adult have the inner discipline to separate your own wants from your own duties.
Yeah, it needs to be defined, and it can't be something that's changed
Mm.
often. There is a thing about wants there. I suppose it depends on how you define wants.
Mm. Like the adult wanting a break to maintain their sanity versus the adult wanting to sneak some chocolate.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm
Mm.
thinking more of like, for your example of home offices, there is adult work to be done.
Mm.
Adults doing adult things is important and serious, more important than the child wanting chocolate.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
think it is very important for a child to go, okay, my wants and needs are very important, but there are things that are more important.
Mm.
Like, say, mother and father having mother and father time away
Mm.
from me, or work that needs to be done for bills that need to be paid.
Mm.
Boundaries have to be set somewhere, otherwise you become slave to the child, and the child learns my wills and wants and emotions are the most important thing in the world, and there's nothing that gets in the way.
Yeah, and then they'll adopt the same dysfunctional pattern when they're older, probably.
Yeah, which is where you get the narcissism.
Mm. And possibly
Well,
adopting the opposite role toward their partner, or possibly staying in the narcissistic roles.
yeah, I
It's
think
dysfunctional.
a path to narcissism is probably
Mm.
a better way of saying that, because I think neglected kids will often be the same way,
Mm.
because it's sort of out of necessity. They want everything to be about them rather than habit.
Yeah.
There's everything in parenting. There's no fixed, solid answer. It's all a balance between, what is it? That a virtue is found on this in the balance of two vices,
Mm.
something like that. The spectrum between them.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, oh, was it cowardice versus foolhardiness, and in the middle is bravery?
Yeah.
Mm.
That's a good example.
Yeah.
There's a lot of advantages to the town,
Mm.
the country life, and people doing real things.
Yeah. Have you noticed any supply chain issues this far out?
There was like a week where the egg thing hit us,
Mm.
but that's over now.
Mm.
And it wasn't such a big deal because there's like 6 people in the town that sell eggs.
Mm. Yeah.
So we just go to their house instead of the supermarket.
Yeah. One thing I noticed was the supermarket was out of 1 kg milk powder, whole milk powder, for like a month.
You use milk powder?
It's cheap and it means I can have a month's supply.
Disgusting. I can't stand that stuff. But then again, we get plenty of milk for the kids, and I don't even drink that. I drink the milk from the vat.
Yeah, if you compare milk straight from the cow to milk powder, I can absolutely.
Even compared to standard milk, I can't stand milk powder.
Yeah.
That's alright. It's just what it is.
I guess I got used to it, and memories of every now and again sneaking a spoonful of it is a bit of a treat. Your face.
I grew up poor, but we still had real milk.
Yeah, we had milk too. The powder was used for making custard and yogurt.
Okay, see, that's somewhat more reasonable, because then you're not going to tell so much. But like I couldn't have it in a coffee or anything like that. Couldn't do it.
Fair enough, fair enough.
And we got milk abundance down here.
Yeah, yeah, the cows aren't exactly stingy.
No, we I don't know, like 20,000 litres or something a day during the peak of the season. And that's, per farm.
Yeah.
We got a big vat, I'll show you tomorrow. We're probably doing 7,000 a day at this point, 7,000 litres. Not all of which it doesn't translate 1-to-1 to get into the bottles. You actually get paid from like milk solids, just like curdled bits almost.
Yeah, what's left when you dry it out.
Yeah, it's a weird process. The milk you get in the bottle is not milk, really. It's like dried and then rehydrated and added and subtracted, and it's all kinds of weird things. Real milk tastes very different than milk from the bottle.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can have a cup and see what you think.
Oh, Mum gets raw milk from a farm down the road.
Oh, so there you go.
Yeah, and I've got a dispenser, and you poke your card at it, and it remembers how much you've got on the account, and you top it up with cash.
So it's actually legal in this country?
Yeah. As long as it's sold from the farm.
Interesting.
So farm gate raw milk is okay.
Gotta love how somewhat advanced we are compared to other nations in the Western world. We're actually reasonably sane here, which is nice.
That's very...
On some things.
Yeah.
On some things. There's a big asterisk there.
I was going to say, you're normally not so kind towards the sanity levels of the country.
No. Like, I have my fair share of problems, but you give the devil his due.
Yeah.
There's like one thing that they're doing all right. You can't be like, no, it's all bad.
Yes.
Yeah. No, actually, that's not bad.
Yes.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's like take the dysfunctional, messed up, corrupt system that we've got and say it at least functions.
I'm just comparing it to other Western nations.
Yeah.
We're not having the trouble that Australia or Canada or Europe or America is having. But we have our own troubles too.
Yes. Yeah. There was something on the cultural front that I had in mind for this because I'd thought of it recently. Regarding why our current civilization is in decline, skipping over the entire concepts and conversation that could lead up to that
Taking
conclusion.
that as a given.
Yep. Comparing the it's caused by resources and it's caused by culture argument, I've moved a bit more towards your argument of it's caused by culture with added nuances. So I agree that there is a point or a place that a society can be in which more people means more productive people doing things and more innovation and more problems solved and more things getting better, where the limitations of material resources aren't necessarily much of a problem. There's still, I'm not 100% convinced on that, but I can see that it's the capacity of human innovation to solve problems is not infinite, but it's definitely substantial. But at the same time, I feel like the space, I get the image of like you're trying to hit that target of that perfect society, and there's a bunch of walls in the way with holes in them. And sometimes the walls are sort of sliding doors almost, and sometimes they're all off to both sides and the target's big and easy to hit. And that's when a society that's sort of been through hard times suddenly comes upon a fresh situation and is cohesive and well put together and all the good things, and then they start climbing, and then over time, like the society fractures, say, but you get barriers start to come in the way. So one barrier comes in the way and there's a hole in the middle of it, so you've got to shoot through that hole to hit the target, and you might not hit it all the time. And then another one comes in the way, and the more come in the way, the smaller the gap you get to hit that target is, until there ends up being several layers of barrier at any one point to aim. And so that's a metaphor for the social dysfunction getting to the point of one faction of society pulling in one direction, saying we need to go more that way, and the other faction saying we need to go more the other way, and they're both disagreeing about where to aim, basically. So the society as a whole can't achieve that almost flow state, like that state that people can get into where whatever physical activity they're doing comes easily, where it becomes automatic and almost easy, like everything just flows, hence the name, and you win the ball game. You're in the zone, as they also call it. But you can't get to that state if you're in too disturbed a state of mind, if you've got too many anxieties pulling on you, and if the society as a whole is not sufficiently cohesive, unified, and untroubled,
Okay.
then you can't get there.
I think that you actually have the solution in your statement there, but then you sort of skipped it and went forward.
Mm.
You made the analogy of going through hard times and getting to a stable state and then aiming up.
Mm.
And I think the aiming up is actually the error.
Mm.
The attempt to hit a perfect target is the problem.
Mm.
Most people would define the idea of a perfect society as one without want or difficulty, which I think is kind of hilarious. And then all of the things coming in the way in your analogy, my brain said that that's human nature or reality, or one or the other. I don't think this is your flaw. I think this is what we're trained to believe in the modern world for indoctrination purposes. The idea that society itself is progressing forward on a trajectory like technology to some perfect hypothetical future.
Mm.
And I have real contention with that. I think that the ideal society, the best that humanity can manage, is the state that you referenced before aiming at the climb. Because you might notice that even in your own description, you said going through trials and building up to a stable place and then aiming at something perfect, and then all of the problems coming in the way, and then all of the social dysfunction.
Oh,
You
because
said that in your description of the problem.
that was my perception of the description of what that was my perception of what you'd described. That you'd find that there was a situation of a society where continuing to aim up was possible, that continuing to aim up forever was possible. Rather than
Technologically.
in terms of.
I did not mean, okay.
Mm.
This is also a recent thing for me, so perhaps
Yeah.
this is something that's changed. But I think when I describe that, I don't think that I describe social change in the aiming up. I think I was referencing more technological and human advancement and achievement, not changing to social structures and rules by which we organize the society. I think those are separate. That technology advances upwards. I don't think culture has a progressive trajectory.
But new technologies can be disruptive to old social structures, and social structures that were highly adapted to the old technological layout don't function with the new technologies necessarily. I'm just thinking of
so that's like adaptation, but not
walking infantry versus spear throwers and chariots.
Okay, but that's technology based.
That is, but the social structures behind each of them, to produce a cavalry, it's many well-trained people grouped together. So it's about having as many people on the battlefield as possible.
That's still the case.
Whereas with, in the metaphor at least, to just to talk about the different social structures behind that different technologies necessitate, cavalry or so chariot-mounted spear throwers. I think that was a thing. I might be wrong on that, but you have one guy with a whole bunch of, or two guys in a chariot with a whole bunch of spears and a couple of horses. You have the infrastructure to breed and train the horses. You have the infrastructure to manufacture and repair the chariots. You have...
Infrastructure is not culture.
But culture... I think they're very interrelated because the infrastructure is made up of people.
Yeah. Hierarchical organizations that solve problems isn't culture.
Then what's culture in your mind? The manner in which problem solving is undertaken? Because
Okay.
there was a definition of culture that I heard, which it's that which you can pass on and enunciate.
Yeah, no, I don't buy that.
Although that was the definition of consciousness.
Maybe. Okay. I think my contention I have is the idea that there is a utopia that we could aim at that is some form of perfect state without difficulty. I don't think that's real.
I agree there.
What I see is the statement of, in your description, I see a curve, which is an attempt of getting to somewhere stable and functional, and then we've alleviated most of our problems and we have technological advancements, so we try and aim at something beyond us and perfect. When it comes to human beings and when it comes to culture, I think we were all raised to believe that we advance. We're smarter than our ancestors. Our society is better put together than all societies that have ever come before, and then it's going to be better in the future, and we're going to be looked back on as idiots as the same.
Yeah.
I don't
Give me a minute to laugh.
Yeah, I don't believe any of that at all. And I think that is the common belief. I have some conspiratorial thoughts about why we're trained to believe that, and I think that's to do with the idea of using the notion that society needs to change towards something better so that people with positions of power have a justification to change things the way that they want to benefit them. Rather than, I think the ideal society is actually a stable one that doesn't change.
But you were talking about technological change.
Society. Here's the way I think of it now. Do human beings have a nature?
Yes.
Does that nature change?
The nature doesn't, no. But a human being is made up of more than their nature.
Nature changes with evolution.
The nature underpins the culture.
Yes. My point is that human beings have a nature. Yes, that nature is going to change over time with evolution, but that's really slow.
Yes, yes.
Functionally not. I think society is an expression of human nature, not an enforced system upon humans. I don't think it's a hypothetical abstraction. I think when you divorce society, as in the way that we interact with people around us, from what is the natural human responses, when it becomes a structure that is built and enforced consciously rather than an emergent property, then now things can be shaped to the way that people want them to be. It's like the social constructionist argument. If everything can be interpreted or made in any way and nothing's better than anything else, then I can remake the world in the way I want it to be, rather than the way that it is. Whereas if culture is something that just emerges from people organizing and working together without direction, it's going to be a reflection of human nature, and the most functional ones are going to be the most efficient and the most successful. I think the best society is, I don't think it can be planned. I think it's an expression of human nature, and I think that there is likely to be one system that works for human beings for a very long time and gradually changes. Not something that could be radically different a generation from the past.
I agree that radical change is incompatible with long-term stability.
Yeah.
Well, if we look at history for examples, the two that come to mind in terms of stable culture over long periods of time are the most basic of hunter-gatherers. Once they've worked out the kinks, it's basically the same because there's still a resource argument in there because complexity has a cost. So if they have wooden spears with stone points that they can chip out of a stone, that's an easier technology than a steel spear point, which requires mining, smelting, and blacksmithing the spear point from the resultant iron.
I still don't see why you'd bring it back to technology every time.
Because you talk about increasing technological complexity in a stable society.
Yeah.
And I don't see that. I see that as having an end point. It can have a refinement over time, but the unnecessary complexity would then be
an end point?
A stable state that would be reached without disturbance. So if a society, a hunter-gatherer society is a good example, they're relatively undisturbed. There might be competing tribes, but they'll exchange information over time, and the environment stays relatively stable. So the kinks get worked out, and sure, neighboring tribes might have a war, but that'll settle into a pattern over time. And if humans are not the dominant part of the environment, because I think then things become less stable over the long term. Although ancient Egypt's a good counter argument to that one. But the technology settles into a stable state, a stable, steady state, the same as the culture. I think technology and culture evolved together, not independently. Like ancient Egypt, highly valued continuity and culture, and they survived for about, was it 2,000 years of cultural, was it 5,000 years? Can't remember. Long period of time of continuous culture, far longer than we have any hope of achieving in this current state. And the culture and the technology within any period of 100 years or a few hundred years, it was pretty steady state. And sure, there were revolutions where this dynasty was kicked out and that one emerged. The culture remained continuous over that period. And I feel like that's the best example of what you're talking about, although it does appear that they lost technical complexity as time went on, which is interesting and doesn't fit with the modern worldview of upward progress.
That's a different way of thinking. Different topic, that one.
But I think the key thing, technology and culture co-evolve. Technology is an expression of culture.
It affects and influences culture.
And is affected by it.
Yes.
Yeah, they're not the same thing, but they are.
I do believe that you can have. I think my point in distincting them is that we know technology moves forward over time. Moore's law problem.
Given available capacity to do so.
Yeah, to innovate on
it.
Yeah. Without disruptions, without things stopping it from advancing. Technology will advance.
Though it's arguable in a counter-argument to what I was thinking that technology does advance in a hunter-gatherer society, but their technology is the skill with which they track animals and know their environment, and it's a technology of living rather than technology of shaped metals and rocks.
I still don't see that as an objection.
I was thinking or arguing that the the steady state gets reached, which I guess it still does because you reach a certain level of complexity of skill that is all that you can pass on to the next generation, but
Okay.
then oral histories can still become more
I
complicated
think the
and
confusion
different.
here is my point about separating those out was that culture itself is not something that should be evolved for the sake of evolving culture.
Yeah, yeah. There's value in the way it was before.
Yes, that's my
Mm.
point, is that technology has value by being accelerated. Culture, I don't think technology has a direction. It's an up arrow, it's going that way. I don't think culture has that.
Mm.
I think the way that we organize our societies is not something that can be. It is not something that we can evolve and iterate on in any form of manner that is analogous to technology.
Mm.
It's not an iterative process in a short period of time.
Mm.
It's something that I think takes thousands of years because you can't change the rules. Oh God, where did I hear that? Mr. Jones was a movie about the guy who went to the Soviet Union and figured out what was happening there. And in the movie, there's a scene where he's talking to some starving woman, and he asks her what's happened, and she said that, what did she say? They tried to replace the rules of nature with their own.
Mm.
We don't get to set the rules on how humans should or shouldn't behave, or what humans should or shouldn't be, or what they should or shouldn't do. That's not a top down decision. That's not something that is arbitrarily decided by intellectuals and forced upon the masses.
Definitely. I think the rules that there's rules we live within in terms of the rules of nature or laws of physics. Then there's rules that we play by, which are the rules in society. And I agree totally that trying to impose rules because of believed intellectual supremacy is a recipe for disaster. Though the rules that we play by in our societies still gradually evolve.
Very gradually.
I think that they can evolve fast, but that brings great disruption. Like if the
I don't think they can
situation,
evolve fast functionally.
yes, yeah, they lose functionality as they evolve
Yeah.
fast. It's a,
I think my point is the
mm,
ideal society is one that is the natural articulation and expression of the internal rules of humanity.
mm,
That we have a nature, we have a state of being and living that is our nature, and that the best society is the one that is as close to as possible in line with that expression,
mm,
which I think is the Ten Commandments point in the Bible. But that's beside the point.
mm,
And that anything else on top of that creates social dysfunction.
yeah. And we're seeing a lot of,
Tower of Babel, reaching up higher and higher
yeah,
away from what we are, crumbles and cracks and falls,
mm,
and leads to all kinds of social decay like we're currently experiencing.
yeah. We're seeing a lot of people who are,
Changing the rules. Well, think about the men and women situation.
yeah, I'm trying to work out how to express that in a rules reference way. They're getting upset about the old rules and demanding that their new and supposedly better rules are implemented instead, and then the pushback from those who see those quote new and improved rules as bad in whatever way they see it, which I'm not going to bother listing that off, but they
You.
get angry at the pushback and
Oh, I, 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 I,
hmm.
your statement of they're angry at the old rules. I think these new rules are better. We should do these new rules. People weren't told that you are what you are. They were told you could be what you want to be.
Yeah.
You can do anything. You can be anything. You make the rules now.
I feel like there is a place for, like, saying a woman's place is in the kitchen. Like, that doesn't fit reality. There are so many, on a works for most basis, it seems to work okay, but on a absolute basis, no. Like, there are so many examples of women who, despite social rejection of the idea they could, went out and did something outside their official social station. Marie Curie, for example, and so on.
I think all of that is fine.
There needs to be an allowance for that, even if it's the
Yes.
exception that proves the rule.
Yes, exception that proves the rule. That's the point. All that stuff is fine as long as it doesn't become what we have now.
Where the
idea
functional core is discarded in favour of the fringe.
Exactly. You're not allowed to do what a woman is naturally motivated to do. And therefore you have nothing but miserable women doing what they're told.
Yeah, and the natural productive inclination needs to be celebrated. Like the inclination of most women to love and nurture and care, and the inclination of most men to find meaning in usefulness and productiveness and providing for
shock
those
horror.
around them.
Men evolved to be fathers and women evolved to be mothers. That's kind of, mind-blowing and unacceptable, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, is this going to get us banned from YouTube?
Oh, we haven't even touched on the subject, so get us banned from YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Some shit up my sleeve, boy. Dancing around that a little bit in this conversation. I make the point to you about genetics recently. Who I was talking to.
Don't recall.
We like to think we're so much more advanced than our ancestors. That we're so much more smarter and we have a better culture and we're more advanced.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why can't we talk about genetics?
Oh, yeah. I remember you mentioning that. In the sense of differences in genetics resulting in different outcomes for the individual, and hypothetically, there being genetic advantages that certain individuals have. I think that the argument which is conflated with this and used to shoot it down of certain races being genetically superior in many ways is proven to be false. But you look at who wins all the big races in the Olympics, it's people of African descent.
Yeah, it's... I think it's hilarious when people say there are no genetic differences between races. You just look at them and go, okay, but obviously not.
The races that have more genetic diversity within them.
Look at this. You immediately with the like, oh, we're not allowed to say that. We can't say that. It's like, look, mate, I didn't say that was a bad thing. It's like the Rogan joke where he says, professional wrestlers are so gay. And everyone's like, oh. And he goes, I didn't say that was bad. That was you. It's like, look, mate, there are differences. You can't say that there aren't. Just look at different people and go, oh, they're different. Why are they different?
This person's tall, this person's short.
Yeah, that's a genetic difference.
Yeah.
That's what defines the differences between people. And if there are bell curves for every single group, and some overlap and some don't, the middle is different. The extremes are different.
The extremes are where it plays out most.
That's reality. We're not allowed to talk about reality because we're so advanced and know so much better than our ancestors. It's stupid. It's the same as the men and women discussion. Hey, there are differences between men and women. No! You hate women. I didn't say it was bad.
Yeah.
When, I used to get into this argument with my grandmother quite a lot because she was one of the original feminists. Well off the deep end kind of person, and we would have these arguments. And I would say something like, women have a nature. Their nature is to be a mother, and
if a woman's nature happens to be the exception to that,
yeah,
then more power to them. Go be what you wish to be.
exception to the rule.
Yeah.
But it proves the rule. And the argument was always, you just want women to be less than men. I said women were different. I didn't say they were less.
I'd like to see the biological man, do a better job of gestating a baby.
Well, yeah, it's like, look, I said difference. I didn't say better.
Yeah.
You said that.
Yeah.
That's you. When it's the woman who is the exception, who is trying really hard to do everything she can to act and be like a man, and then is offended about other women being women and being like, oh, you're just being less than men. It's like, that's your way of looking at the world.
Mm.
It's not the way men are looking at it. It's like, we are different. We do different things. Doesn't make us better.
Mm.
Like, difference between things does not mean, yeah, that's the thing. People notice, like, if you say one group of people is different from another group of people, you're saying that one is inherently better than the other.
Which is a better vehicle? A large truck that's moving containers up and down the country, or a Formula One car?
Depends on what you want to do.
Yeah. The large truck ain't going to win the Formula One race. The Formula One car ain't going to carry much cargo.
Yeah. We have roles to work together.
Mm.
And the idea that one...
That's the thing, that the combination of those two broad specialties is more than
Here's the other thing that's, like, provably clear. Your genes, genetically, will spend an equal time being male or female as they're propagated throughout generations.
Tip the Y chromosome. The exception that proves the rule.
Okay.
Yeah.
But my point is that your descendants have an equal probability of being either male or female.
Yeah.
Over the span of history, throughout all time, it's 50% split, exactly.
Mm. And historically, we've got twice as many female ancestors as male.
If one was inherently better than the other, and, genes want to reproduce and all of that, they'd pick one. It wouldn't be an even split. You can't say that one is better than the other. We're two halves of a whole. The point of two different sexes is that they work together to produce more children.
And there are a lot of animals where the differences between the sexes are much more pronounced. Look at walruses. The males are
like 4 times as big or something.
They're the size of a damn car.
Yeah, and they've got these
small car, but
little females.
Yeah, and like there's a difference there, and look at how many males there are for all the females. Like one big strong male has this massive hair.
Well, it's also the other side, which I think is absolutely hilarious.
1-to-1.
Where it's modern women saying, "I don't like what modern men are." It's like, guess who made us, fucker? You did. We are not the choosy one who gets to pick the direction of the species. That's women.
That's a funny one.
And it's also pretty clear that it's conscious and has been for a really long time. You don't get to sit there and go like, men are bad, I don't like what men are, when you evolved us to be what we are to serve you.
That's the thing that goes against, that sort of shoots the other argument in the foot, that the idea that men were evolved by women to serve their needs.
Yes. 100% agree.
Yeah. And like you look at the psychology of it even, because that's part of the evolved person. The psychology of men, we want to be providers, protectors.
Useful.
Yes. Useful, full of use, used in a sense.
That's where we get our value.
Yeah, and that's not just
being valuable to others.
Some sort of masochistic sense. That's a fulfillment in life. A go off to war and die happy knowing you're protecting your children.
Yeah, that's our instinct.
Yeah, and although of course you'd prefer not to have to die, but if it comes down to it, it's like you line up and march.
Yeah, I'll do my duty, not what I feel like I want to do.
Yeah, because...
Which is something we don't have enough of, by the way.
Yeah.
men today are too much concerned about I want rather than what my duty is.
Oh, cultural Darwinism and this, that could easily be taken the wrong way, but like the people who adopt cultural forms which are non-functional will not do as well
I have serious concerns about that.
in terms of those who adopt the bad cultural forms or the non-functional cultural forms screwing over the
just
rest.
really, really hoping that the pendulum's going to swing back hard.
Toward functional, because I just worried it'd swing past functional at the other end.
Be careful with this one. I think I kind of want it to swing at the other end because we need an overcorrection.
What's out the other end?
Very traditional. Return of ultra masculine, discarding of the weak and pathetic, not accepting of the social degeneration.
Yeah. My concern would be that the shadow form of the old overcorrection, the
Yes,
bad side of it, may be
it would be dangerous.
male dominance over woman and the potentials for violence in that.
I don't see that.
Mm.
I don't I don't see that as a masculine thing.
Mm.
When I'm saying an overcorrection, I mean an overcorrection back towards a traditional masculine society. A masculine man is protective, not abusive. That's not strength, that's weakness.
Because, as in the abuses.
Why would a masculine man need to dominate a woman? She's a woman. Very easily, obviously less strong than you. Not something that you need to dominate over to feel powerful. I understand your concern about the risks of that. The women who are traditional and feminine, I don't think would have any trouble in a society like that. It's the people, probably more men than women, who have jumped outside the boundaries and gone the opposite way who would deal the brunt of that. Which would be bad for them.
In an internal pendulum swing of guilt-driven or
no, it would probably be external persecution
toward them.
Yes.
If that comes to pass, I feel really, really sorry for the kids who are getting tricked into trans stuff.
Well, they're already done. I mean, they're sterile.
Yeah.
So there's no saving them.
In a genetic sense, there's no saving their line.
It's over for them. It's done.
One would hope they can still be relatively fulfilled members of society.
If they come back, I'm sure they'll be all right. But there's people who have turned around and have become great advocates for that kind of thing. Yeah, that is a bit of a hot take, isn't it? I don't know if I'll get in trouble for that one. A bit of danger and death might be something that the West needs. We've gotten a little too comfortable and we're going a little too far off the rails.
In the sense of realizing that, hang on a minute, there are consequences to come bite you.
Yes. There's a conversation I used to remember about, there was a couple of capitalist guys talking about communists, and they described themselves as idealist and practical. And the practical guy said, I'm the guy who throws them out of the helicopter. You're the guy who leads the society afterwards and says, we don't do that. And, it's all well and good, but his point was, you need people like me.
There's a reason psychopathy survives in
get
society.
To this state where people like you are in charge.
Yeah.
The psychopaths who are on the good side go and kill all the ones who are not. That's what they do.
Yeah, you need brutal soldiers.
Yeah.
To do the work, to do the brutalness.
Yeah.
So that the gentler ones can.
I get the ends don't justify the means problem there, but at the same time, some people just gotta die.
That's
I
an
think we
interesting one
learned that
because
lesson in the last century. There's some people that just really needed to die.
the psychopathy thing, that's taking away the empathy so that you can do whatever brutal thing you choose to, almost in an animalistic sense, because of like empathy. I think is one of the things that, although no, animals show empathy to each other too. Oh, it depends on the animal, different ones.
I think
Hmm.
that I can see the evolutionary advantage of a person being able to suspend the guilt or even completely eradicate the guilt or empathy
Hmm.
associated with an action.
Yeah.
Whether that what goal that action is serving
Hmm.
becomes the important part.
Yeah.
You could have a psychopath who puts aside, dissociates, but is aiming at a noble goal who could probably do some good work,
Hmm.
albeit horrible work.
Oh, TV show Dexter.
Yeah, I
Haven't
I,
seen it,
I think
but
I get the idea, but I never
hmm.
saw that either.
From
But I
what I
just think it's
understand of
nostalgia.
it, um, kid who was raised by a cop who recognized that he adopted the kid and he recognized the kid was a psychopath and trained him to kill the bad guys.
Yeah, something like
And
that.
then he grew up to be a detective
Which
and
is a reason why anti-heroes are a big
mm,
thing in culture.
yeah.
Someone who will go outside the rules and do things that no one else accepts, but
Mm.
for a good cause.
The idea that the
The
ends don't justify the means, and like there's things that we don't do. That's I feel like that is a very important part of a civil society. But there are times when the survival of that civil society would fail if that was held to. And so there are,
That's why there's no civil liberties during war.
yeah, yeah, the having a small number of people who would go and do that, and then afterwards people can bemoan the war crimes committed. And if you have to live in the world with the people you committed the war crimes against, it's also probably a bad idea to do them in the first place. There's a balance there, but at the same time, like someone
Yeah.
going in and brutally assassinating Hitler, I think we could generally
Yeah.
agree would not have been a bad thing.
You debate the ethics when the war is won,
Yeah,
not before.
yeah, and you try and put the lessons into play, but then I think ethics beyond the core animalistic protection of your own and survival, they have trouble surviving contact with true war and hell. And it's something that we don't want to look at and admit, but it comes up every now and again. Like, who wants to chop off their own arm? No one. Okay, now trap your arm on the boulder, under the boulder, and you've got a knife in your hand, and there is no one coming to help you. You're going to have to walk out of there. Your arm is stuck. Are you going to continue to not chop your arm off? Because, yeah, who wants to do that? It's not a thing you would ever choose to do if you had another option.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of examples of people who do something like that, like stitching their own wound shut, is a relatively common one in drastic situations. But like chopping off your own arm is a rather drastic one, but he did
It's
it.
like people saying that they couldn't be violent.
Mm,
It's like, okay, sure. In this world that you live in,
mm.
it's like we drop you in Afghanistan. You see how long you last.
Oh, how many movies are there based on that premise of someone who doesn't want to be violent in video games, and then it's like push comes to shove, be violent, or you and those you love will suffer and die.
Yeah. Well, it's like Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
The second he does it, he's like, oh, actually, I like this.
I've seen the start of it. Not that point though.
It's a good show.
Yeah,
I never finished it, but I actually want to go back and watch it for that reason.
I've heard a sort of thing of an actor, like an old actor who knew his stuff, singing its praises in terms of the acting and the writing. It's like I can see that
Oh,
everyone
yeah,
in
the
this
writing
was,
is fantastic for that show.
yeah,
It's an exploration of a person becoming their shadow.
It's almost like Ordinary Men, that book about the
Yes,
German police group who were ordinary people, not devout Nazis, who were trained into being brutal murderers for the Nazis.
and enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. You'd be surprised what you could enjoy doing. And I think most people don't want to think about that for obvious reasons.
Hand up, yep. Don't want to,
Worth
but need
knowing.
to. Yeah.
Coming back to how do you get that confident energy? Remembering or realizing what you're capable of.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then sort of laughing when you're in a room with people.
Yeah, like I don't want to do it, but I remember the karate lessons that involve here's how you snap an elbow. And it's like you never do this unless it's in self-defense as part of the
And
lesson.
then you need to go a little bit further in your imagination there.
Well, you do what you need to make sure that the dangerous one doesn't get up again and continue being a danger. It's like,
I'm just sort of realizing the bottom out of the depths you've explored
as in how far I've gone into
towards hell.
what depravity is.
Yeah, pretty shallow.
Yeah, not gonna lie, probably true. Not probably true. It's
When
terrifying.
you're asking about your advice on how to have that presence that you're looking for, I reckon that's where you should start, is to dig deeper and deeper and deeper to the point where you're in a room with people, you know you're the most dangerous person. That, I think, is what women are looking for. That may not make sense to listeners. We've been talking about this a bit.
Yeah, because
We've been walking around today discussing. Want some help with that kind of thing.
Yeah, because I'm trying to work out how to develop myself into not just someone who can choose to attract a woman, but the type of someone who, by nature of who he is attractive to the right kind of woman for me. And yeah, the stereotype of the alpha male attracting all the woman, it's like he's the one who's got the confidence because he knows he's on top, or at least other men recognize him as on top. And there's the archetype of the sigma male, like John Wick is the simple common example these days of he's hella dangerous, but only to those who are a danger.
Well, that's all.
Mm.
I won't say alpha men, but all high brass men.
High brass?
It's only alpha and sigma.
Mm.
It's just alpha dominates the hierarchy.
Mm. Sigma dominates itself.
Sigma's transcended hierarchy.
Mm.
Alpha is someone who is alpha in their domain.
Mm.
Sigma is someone who walks their own path. It's basically extroverted versus introverted alpha. It's effectively what I think it is. The sigma is an introverted one who is not attempting to be the best at X thing or the best, most powerful man in X place.
He's the best him. Although sigmas in that sense are often depicted as the most dangerous.
The sigma doesn't feel a need to dominate another man to be at the top of the pile. The sigma is the person who will walk into a room full of men, sit in the corner, but still be projecting the most dominant energy of anyone there and not talk to anyone. Needing no validation from other men. Whereas the alpha is someone who needs other men beneath him to be at the top of the pile.
I think the sigma doesn't need to project that energy, but as soon as...
It's not, when I say projection, it's not conscious.
So possibly only when someone who
has
just a thought looks at him.
It is, people pick it up. It is a thing that is...
Subconsciously.
Yeah. It is a thing that is... project is not the right word. Emanates, maybe? The sigma is not doing it on purpose.
It's just who he is.
Okay. He's kind of doing it on purpose. It's not a game. He's not playing a game. The sigma doesn't play games. He does his thing. The alpha plays the game
Yeah, because I think that's what I've been trying to
and wins.
work my way towards. Because I don't drink. I don't like. I find peer pressure just like, why would I do that? Most of it. There's some of it that I can go along with. Well, it's like it's. I don't want to play the silly games. I want to. If I choose to play a game, it's because I want to play that game. In the broader sense of all interaction as a game, but I'm not. I don't want to play the silly games. And going out and getting drunk seems like a silly game to me.
You do seem to have a need for validation.
True.
So I don't.
I do have a
I wouldn't know where
yeah.
to put you, but I think that if that issue was solved, then yeah, you'd probably be more that way.
I think the ideal place. Now, this is an image that came to mind just now, so yeah. The image of the most sort of powerful and dominant me is a loving woman standing beside me, giving me that validation while I do my thing, sort of without really caring about the rest of the society that much. It's like with a sort of she's all I need type attitude, which
Do you
yeah.
think that's you though?
I don't know. It might be a
You seem a little bit more extroverted than that.
yeah. It might be just what the metaphorical torchlight of where I'm trying to see where I'm going has glanced upon at the moment.
Certainly a good thing to aim at.
Hmm.
I wonder
Yeah.
because I don't know,
Yeah, the
your need for
intellectual
conversation.
side. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, we are all a chorus of voices which start out saying completely different things and arguing with each other, and trying to unite them all takes a lot of this. Yeah, and then once you've got one voice, once you've united yourself, like all that argument that was becomes a single force of strength, and
yeah. I think that's why the Sigma question with you is an interesting one. Because when I think of a Sigma, I think of someone who's quiet.
mm,
They're not a person who is saying the interesting things with the attention on them,
mm,
or they're the person who is more or less not engaging.
yeah, I think you've got that more than me.
Maybe. I think I used to be more the way you are. Yeah, no, maybe not. Maybe I am that way. Because it's a thing I can do and will like, on occasion,
Mm,
but it's not a thing I chase or
mm.
attempt to do often.
But it is a tool in your toolkit ready to be used.
Yeah, if I see the opportunity.
So rather than saying you are a Sigma, it would be better to say you can be.
No, I think I'm flipping that the other way around. What I mean is when it comes to being the person who jumps in and does the interesting conversation,
Hmm.
that's a thing that I can do but don't.
Hmm.
Unless I don't know, I feel like it.
Hmm. And when that's not the case, are you the quiet one in the corner?
Yeah, I'm generally
Hmm.
quiet.
Hmm.
But it's not quiet and submissive and hidden.
Hmm.
It's just observing, usually not even thinking about the conversation that's going on. I'm usually doing my own thing in my head.
Yeah. Because the Sigma, as part of the image of the archetype that I've had, normally rather separated from society.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Punisher, John Wick, and so on. They're all violent people, but um,
Well, that is the ultra
mm,
mythologization of it. It's a
just
lone wolf.
yeah, the end. That's the end point of that path.
Sigma doesn't have a pack.
Mm,
He's not the alpha surrounded by men, or he's not, whatever, a beta with an alpha
mm,
surrounded by. Doesn't do. The Sigma doesn't have a group of male friends on the male side.
But I think it's better to be a Sigma who chooses to be in a pack. Would that be better? Because that's more where You said you've got friends.
Yeah, but not really.
Mm,
I don't have a pack. I
mm,
don't hang out with
yeah,
guys.
that's true.
I have a workmate who I catch up with sometimes out of work and talk work stuff with.
Mm,
And then there's you, and we do these things.
mm,
But I do these because I'm interested in them, not because I feel like I need to be around other people.
mm,
Like even last night, I got worn out of conversation really quickly because I'm an introvert. It's like
mm,
I'm really looking forward to be frank, tomorrow afternoon when everyone's gone home and the whole thing, social thing's over, and
mm.
I can sit and do nothing and be by myself for an afternoon.
Yeah,
That sounds great.
yeah. Where I had thought I had classified myself as an introvert, but in our conversation this morning, it seems like that's not as much the case as I thought.
No, it is nice to have a conversation occasionally, but for me as an introvert, it's my idea of a holiday is being alone.
Mm,
My idea of like, what do I really want to do with my afternoon is not have anyone near me except maybe my wife, just to have her there and to like have a few drinks and sit down and do something myself.
mm.
The idea of going out and seeing people is always, and I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, where I've got a few friends who I probably don't get to see as much as I like, but I like to meet up with them for this kind of conversation and shared hobbies. It's because I thought I was introverted for not liking parties, and
I think that's just being sensible.
yeah, so the need for human contact. I do go a bit nuts if I don't have much adult contact. Like
That is, yeah,
yeah,
extrovert.
if it's just me and my son, it's like I need adults. Give me someone to talk to.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I could sort of see that a bit, but then again, yeah, no, I'm perfectly happy when it's me and my little ones.
Mm.
Because I think they're a bit introverted too, which is good because I can just go
Mm.
do their thing. And then I can chill and do mine.
Yeah, and my son loves being
Yeah.
the clown
Whereas
who
like
gets the attention.
too much noise, I find this is definitely the case with me. Too much noise, too many voices starts to get really aggravating really fast for me.
Mm.
Like I need silence in my life sometimes, which is difficult with children.
Yep.
Very difficult. It's something that I'm working on, but lots of noise often is enraging for me.
Mm. Yeah, I think on the same scale of that, noise is not as much of a problem for me, though I appreciate what you're saying about
I
too
can
much
do
noise around children.
I can do one source.
Hmm.
One source of noise. That's fine. That never bothers me. It could be plenty loud.
Hmm.
But if I'm trying to focus on one source of noise and there's other noises around, no, can't do
Hmm.
it. I can't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm probably comfortable at two,
yeah,
maybe three, as long as I can still hear clearly enough.
yeah.
Like some
Cafes
background
don't seem
music
to
in the
bother
corner.
me, which is interesting.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I'm not sure. But when I think about an ideal life, if I didn't have family, it's like alone in the mountains kind of
Hmm.
thing. No contact with anyone, probably very little technology.
Yeah.
I'd set up one of those what do they call them? Glamping tents with the wooden floors and everything.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I'm thinking it would be nice to be able to go up on the hill. The closest camping ground up Godley Head to Christchurch is closed at the moment because they found asbestos in one of the buildings. But I'm thinking I'd like to go up there and spend a night up there every now and again, partly just so that I can get enough confidence camping on my own for a night to be able to take my son with me in confidence of being able to manage it.
That's interesting. I feel like that strikes me as the kind of what is it? In order to do X thing with children or have children, I need to be more secure, which is like you're never secure enough kind of issue.
I don't want to let him down and not have food or warmth for him when we need it.
You overpack. Also,
Mm.
the other half of that is the point of it to be comfortable.
Mm.
You have enough comfort. A little bit of discomfort is very valuable. You seem nervous.
I was just maybe,
For
but
someone who doesn't have caffeine or any substances, you're pretty wired, like a lot.
yeah. I have a mental accelerator that wires me.
Mm.
I don't have a brake.
Yeah, I wonder what that
This has
is.
been a thing since childhood. But I was just thinking of the voice in my head, but I want to be comfortable. And yeah, pointing awareness at it and just see what happens. But
It's like the thing when people say, do exercise or whatever, or like I want to get strong. What's the easiest way to do it? Why is it supposed to be easy?
mm, yeah,
The point of man is do the hard thing.
yeah,
That's why we're here. Do the
yeah.
hard thing.
I guess there's a pattern to build of succeeding at things or of trying the hard things and being willing to fail at them. And yeah,
It's just do the hard thing. Your life is not meant to be comfort. It's not lying
mm,
on couches eating grapes. Great things are difficult things.
mm.
Why waste your time doing something easy?
There's an internal wish to wriggle out of that, and I'm looking at it.
Yeah, it's
Mm,
like, are you half in or not?
yeah,
Like, you could do the whole lazy life and eat chips and play games for the rest of your life and do nothing, or you
mm.
could go and do the difficult things. And I think you're already doing that to a large degree, but I think you have a hesitation when it comes to anything physical.
Part of that might come from migraines in the sense of, oh, I first found I got migraines by doing karate and pushing myself hard there, and then getting a migraine and ended up throwing up all night
Hmm.
as a child. Well, teenager. So, sort of not really traumatic, but and certainly a impressive experience to
I'd be
lead to
curious
something.
about the, what would I say? I'd be curious about the dietary situation around that memory. Hydration, vitamins, macronutrients, micronutrients.
I've had one more recently.
Okay.
It's not just a childhood thing. It died off as my stamina built at karate. I could push myself harder without triggering anything. So there's a caution there of pushing myself too hard for fear of being stuck in bed for a while and feeling really rotten. But
Easy to use that to,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it is. It's not a non-existent thing, but it is a convenient excuse, and there's a
yeah.
balance to be struck there.
It's hard not to. Like, I get it. It's not. You want to make excuses. You don't want to be going, oh, well,
Mm,
everyone understands, and oh, yeah, you don't do it all the time. It's like, okay, yes. But the point is, do it anyway. It's a hard line to walk. You want to be
mm,
sort of understanding and go, yeah, everyone has hard days and doesn't want to do it or whatever. But the whole point of this is fucking do it anyway. This is what you do.
mm.
Quit
There
quit the
is
bitching.
there is a line which I can sort of tell where it is, so I can usually not cross it. Where if I, it's how puffed I get in essence, how much oxygen I deplete from my blood. So if I gradually ramp up, well, I can feel it coming on. And if I push too far past that or push too long near that, then it can trigger the migraine even like an hour later. Um, and I've had days where my morning exercises have triggered it, just some stretches and press up type things. Um, and sometimes that's come close, and so I've felt a bit bad for an hour afterwards.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's to get past it. I need to push that line enough that it starts lifting. Not all at once, but just repeatedly enough to start pushing it back. And then as I can push that higher, then I can push harder, because it takes, as I push that endurance level higher, I have to push harder to get to it. And eventually it's, because I can remember when doing karate, I was starting, I was getting to the push through the burn. I was getting to the second wind level of fitness, which I think without the migraines, I could do that just by pushing hard, like feel the burn type exercise. But the migraine may be, well, it's a reason not to push that hard, but it may be also an excuse. Only one solution.
I suppose so. I'm just more making a general statement. You don't want to be giving yourself excuses. And, are you doing things that matter or not?
Does getting fit matter?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think there's any way that it doesn't matter. I think the people that say that doesn't matter just aren't thinking clearly enough.
I guess the competition for that in terms of things that matter that I line up for myself is the hobbies that I want to do to improve myself in other ways, which starting regular sport type things like going to start learning Aikido or something would impede, because then it's another slot in my week taken up. But that feels like an excuse.
From what? What are you giving up?
Radio, meeting up with friends on Saturday mornings, if that actually eventuates. Tidying, reading books, doing the dishes, stuff that can be done at other times. Whingy voice saying it's hard in my head.
Well, there you go. Good, do it. I think I'm giving you a bit of a hard time, but really you're pretty solid on that already. You don't do a lot of things that are a waste of time.
There is sometimes you need to recuperate from busyness and effort, even if that effort is not exercise. It's
You need downtime.
Yeah, and working out how much downtime I need. I probably err on the side of caution with giving myself more downtime than I need, but that's a thing I don't have a good handle on. So
you need something you enjoy. Like I have video games. I have an Xbox. And I have many times sold all my stuff and then bought it again and sold it all. And what I've come down to is I've cut so many things out of my life that were bad for me. I need something I enjoy. It's all well and good to be super productive all the time, but you need something, at least one thing in your whole life that is something that is just for you and you enjoy.
There are some people who have that as a productive thing, and they can be total workaholics.
Yeah.
But that's not everyone. That's hella not everyone.
Yeah. It is also very hard not to turn things into business. Like, I can already tell in my head that it's very tempting to turn my playing video games into some form of money input, streaming or something like that. To not turn it into work is difficult.
Because of the feeling that you need to be productive.
Well, I don't know.
I've got that with the books on my shelves.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, like I've managed to double take that one because I listen to audiobooks while I work. So it's like I'm getting paid, I'm doing my work, and I'm also educating myself at the same time. Physical books on the shelf is, I think that's just investment as far as I'm concerned for not going to give my children money. I'm going to give them a library.
Yeah. I'm
'cause
more in an
actually want them
intellectual
to
job that I can't think of two things at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas mine is physical.
Mm.
Although in saying that, there's plenty of thinking to do.
But you can think out what you're going to do and then listen to something else while you execute that plan.
I can also, pause and play it when I need a minute to.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've done it for so long now that I'm able to receive the input and think about a thing.
Different bits of the brain, and you can get them both running at once.
Yeah. I can't do it for anything that requires complex thought. But for the system one kind of I need to know what I'm doing.
Just carrying out the thing you know how to do.
Yeah, I can build a list of things to do and then execute them. But if I need to take a minute and solve a logistical problem, then I need to take them off and I need to think. Go, okay, how do I do this? And then once I've got it, it's like, cool, sweet, throw it back on and go and do the thing. Which is an advantage. Which I actually really like. I don't think I could go back to doing intellectual work. I've actually been thinking about that a lot lately. If this project succeeds, and I'm thinking about starting up some other projects as well, if they succeed also, I don't think I would walk away from my job. I don't even know if I would take it part-time. Regardless of what I earn from this.
One of the podcasts I listened to as I was driving here said that only 10% of podcasts that start get beyond 3 episodes, and only 10% of those get beyond 20.
Yes, 20 is the number that I know of.
Yeah, that's 1%.
You're in there, the top 1% if you get 20 episodes.
Yeah.
So what are we up to? I think it's 15. We're getting close.
You're counting, not me.
Something like that.
Yeah, there's a few in that folder.
I'm guessing 13, 14, something like that this time. We're a few weeks ahead. So by the time you hear this, we're recording this. We just put up the first of our new style in the dark room before I even rearranged this house when I was in there.
Yeah.
And we were playing around with lighting and getting mooding right and all that. I think that was when I was talking about my poking axioms thing. They went up last week. Oh yeah, and we'll put up the next one today, which is your one.
Oh, poking my axioms.
Yeah, the thing that I don't actually remember, but we were talking about some of your weirdness. You did a thing on you right after the next week after my one. Actually, I think it was the next day.
I think that was the one where I dived into my. What was it? Something about male and female roles and trying to work out my needs and wants within that. And the nature of the masculine and feminine and the way they interact and.
Well, you guys will remember better than us, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I still think it's interesting. This is like the archives portion. No one knows we're doing this yet. And whoever it is that's listening is I don't know, probably 5 years in the future going back and, I'll catch up with all the old episodes and get up to date and see what things were like.
Yeah, the guy I met on the way here and had an interesting conversation with and told him about this might listen to it sooner rather than later.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I do love that. You keep telling me that you're telling people that you're doing it.
I've stopped telling friends because some of these got personal.
Yeah. Yeah, you remember you were saying that early on, I'm doing this thing and doing this thing. And then we had those episodes where we talked about your childhood and your issues with women. And you're like, oh, I really regret telling my crush that I was doing this. Hi, if you're listening. I forgot your name. Yeah, probably not. My wife doesn't even listen to this.
Yeah.
It was funny, that episode we did the other day that was super impactful for me. I got her to listen to that and she was like, yeah, you've said all this before, none of this is news to me. I was like, what? That felt like a big breakthrough for me. And she's like, no, you've said all this. Oh, okay. I guess I just forgot.
Yeah.
Maybe saying it all at one time was the thing.
Yeah. The crush didn't work out. Yeah, but I think that its positive growth happened through the process.
You certainly learned a lot from that one, from what I can tell.
Yeah, it's like
I want to get more side projects going.
I think the emotional side predicts the future based on what has happened. And with my one bad relationship, it had that as a sample. And so, on an emotional level, I was predicting that for future relationships. But the experience of having uh, the potential for a relationship that didn't work out explored with someone who is still a friend and actually didn't want to hurt me. God, that sounds bad in some ways, but
It certainly exposes what things were.
yeah. But yeah, that's helped emotionally a lot. And now I'm trying to work out, how does one ask a girl out on a date when you meet them, when you're looking specifically for that, and that's your
I actually wouldn't
explicit
know.
goal.
I never did that.
Or how does one attract a girl to ask for that?
That I did that. Yes.
Yeah.
I peacocked around a spa place with my muscles out for a while.
You were working there.
Yes.
Yes.
I was working there as a photographer, so I went round in a tank top that was very tight and thick that made me look very ripped. And I got very, very good at being confident around very attractive women very quickly. It was, into the deep end.
Because you're taking the photos of them.
Yeah, like it was my job to go up and approach attractive women and then
Yeah.
like, hey, do you want photos? And it was kind of laughable how a change in attitude and eye contact and posture just 100% changed the interaction. It was amazing. Once I saw that and realized it was so easy to game, then you get the confidence, and then it doesn't need to be gamed. That was somewhat how it happened to me. I felt very good doing that. I rather enjoyed it.
Being paid to take photos of women. Yes. That sounds terrible.
It was great. Yeah. Yeah, well, my wife's not listening to this, so I can say that. It was amazing. They were wearing very little clothing in the spa pool where they were trying to attract partners on holiday. It was great. As you can imagine.
Oh. I work in an office. A girl just started working there. She's got a partner.
Yeah. Rough.
Yeah.
You don't want work-related anything. Never work with your partner. Learned that one.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't really do it. It's sort of a thing that happens on the farm. The roles are separated pretty hard. Like, there is a job that partners can do, wives and that, but it is very limited to this is the thing you do, and that we do this other thing, which is actually really useful. You don't want the lines to be blurred.
At work, something I commented on recently was that we're ending up with a very diverse workplace because we're like, do you want a job? Can you do the job? Do you want this job? Yes? Good. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so there's a computer geek, computer science dropout who likes working with his hands, running a welder. There's a mechanical engineering grad running a welder. Both of them will also do CAD at some point. And the computer science geek dropout is also sort of semi-running what little IT we have. We've got a guy who did science communication, who's essentially the secretary. I'm not sure if he'd call himself that, but I think he'd laugh at it. There's the guy with no qualifications at all who is running the company. He didn't bother going to get qualifications, he just started doing things instead. There's me with a mechanical engineering degree doing computer programming of thermodynamics related stuff, so that's sort of related to me. But yeah, we just had a woman who's an engineer from South Africa start, and on the first day when I was in the office when she was, because my hours are mixed up because single parenting and such. Um, she was getting her overalls and work boots sorted so she could go out and wheel the grinder. So it's like, yeah, we got a bunch of different weird people. We're doing a thing.
I still think it's hilarious you're in a startup.
Why?
I don't know. It's just, it's not something that you expect out of New Zealand. And it's also just you.
Does it seem too insecure for me
No.
in personality sense?
No, it seems right on the money for you.
In terms of what we're doing or the.
Yeah, the weirdness of it. The
Yep.
non-traditional state. Yeah.
Well.
I think we should probably leave it here.
Yeah, that's probably a good
We're
round.
getting a bit rambling. We went all over the place. We had to come up with a name for this one.
Where did
All
we
over the
start?
spot. You wanted to, yeah, we talked about the society issue, so I'll probably
Yeah.
go with that. We got to go and do
Stable society?
societal
Question mark?
cultures.
Mm.
Yeah, we got to go and do some society stuff ourselves today.
Yes, let's go
So
be
we should
social.
go prepare for that and go and do some traditional and cultural stuff.
Oh god, that makes it sound like we're going to a marae.
Oh, I'm not even going to start on that comment.
Uh,
We have our own culture. We have our own traditions.
it's like saying
Other
that,
cultures are not the only ones with traditions.
it's like saying that Britain doesn't have a native people. It's like,
Yes,
yes, they
yeah,
do. The
yeah.
Britons.
It's us. That's what it is.
Yeah, and
You
like
think of culture and you're like, oh, colourful flowers and Tibetan dances or whatever. It's like, guess what?
Morris dancing.
Yeah, we have culture. Oh my god, yeah. I was a stag do when I was a kid. I saw a stag do and they showed up and dancing. Thing. It was quite hilarious. Used to have kilts. Once upon a time, we used to have a big
Yeah.
outfit with the drums and a Scottish band. That was fun. Burn up.
Yeah.
Good fun.
Oh, bagpipes are once banned as a weapon of war because of their ability to motivate. That might be Scotland specific.
We're industry people.
Yes, yes. Ah, well.
Yeah. You say good afternoon and say good night, but it's lunchtime.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Bye.